Hey guys, I'm going to read a couple of quotes from two different men, and we're going to talk about it after. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. My religious belief teaches me to feel as safe in battle as in bed. God has fixed the time of my death. I do not concern myself about that, but to be always ready, no matter when it may overtake me. That is the way all men should live, and then all would be equally brave. Now, these are two very different men from a different time, raised in different circumstances. So, the first one was Dr. Martin Luther King, whom I respect very, very much. Obviously, he was a great man. He was a very faithful man, great civil rights man. We all know how that ended, but his legacy does live on. So, here's where things might get weird for you. The other man was General Stonewall Jackson of the Confederate Army. So, the reason I bring this up is I respect both men's faith. I think Stonewall Jackson was extremely brave, and I do think he was a very faithful man. By all accounts, he lived and breathed two things. That was God and his military. So I understand the point. And yes, Thomas Jackson, he absolutely owned slaves. There's a lot of people out there who will try to deny that. No, he owned between 6 and 7 slaves. He really did. Now, obviously, that is very wrong. Slavery was very evil, and it had to be snuffed out. And I'm not making excuses, but during that time, it would have been normal for him. But did he know slavery was wrong? He had to. Everybody had to know owning another human being was completely wrong. Anybody who argues that, they're just being an idiot. So Dr. Martin Luther King, he always talked about loving each other, loving everybody. And he talked about tolerance, which is highly important. I want to read a definition of tolerance before I go any further. Tolerance is the capacity to endure, accept, or respect different opinions, beliefs, or behaviors without necessarily agreeing with them, or the ability to endure harmful substances, pain. So, where we are in the world right now, it seems like it is impossible to practice tolerance. And when I was down for my prison sentence, there was an OG in there who gave me an entire speech slash conversation on tolerance. And he brought up a good point. He says, we're on this camp with 500 inmates and 12 guards right now. He said, we practice tolerance every day because we can get out of the gate anytime we want to. It's a valid point. Now, I'm not going to sit here and compare the moral codes between Martin Luther King and Thomas Jackson, but I do think they were good men for the most part. I'm not going to get into the moral code because I did not know either one of them, and unless you're really, really old, you didn't either. So all I'm going to say is I think both men most likely went to be in heaven with their Heavenly Father. So obviously slavery died out. Thank the Lord. It was an evil time in history. But you also got to think of where this originates from. I'm not talking all the way back when it first started. I'm talking about what kept it alive. And the main thing that kept that alive has always been politicians. All the way back to before the Civil War, politicians has been pitting us against each other because that's how they keep us divided. They have to keep us divided or we would figure it out and see what's going on. So what really, really gets me is we buy into this BS. So you take all these, some of them even billionaires, but millionaires, black people who keep the race baiting alive like they've been oppressed or something, like Oprah, like Beyonce likes to talk about it. All them commie hussies on The View. I mean, they're all race baiters. It doesn't affect them one way or another. They just like jumping on the train. And on the other side of things, pretty much every single 80-year-old white man in Washington, D.C., let's just assume they're racist, So it should never take more than a generation for something to die out. But yet, generation after generation after generation, we still have racism because they won't let it die. Therefore, we won't let it die. There is no reason whatsoever in this world that racism should still be around. Politicians keep it alive, and we allow them to do it. And before you jump on these comments and you're talking about, oh, well, he's just some racist white dude. My best friend is black. My daughter-in-law is black. And she gave birth to the absolutely most beautiful half black, half white baby you have ever seen in your life. That is my grandchild. So before you start talking to me about me being racist, you can take those comments and go play in traffic because that is not a thing. So I just want y'all to practice tolerance. Hand tolerance down to our younger generation and teach them correctly about what is going on. I mean, in the past, they used to teach history a little better. We need to go back to teaching history better. And as far as giving black people Black History Month, that's a shame. You should teach it every month. I mean, that's just dumb. We should teach all history all the time. I mean, I understand giving them a month, but in a way, that's not right. You're consolidating it into a month, and you really can't do that. There's been some great things done on this planet by all races, and we need to study that. Native American histories fell by the way. So, study it all. European history, colonial history, black history. Make sure you teach slavery correct. Don't whitewash it. People have to know what went on. So, let's start doing that. Let's practice tolerance. Let's learn history how it actually was. Quit taking people's word for it through government-ran school systems. So, either way, practice tolerance. Talk to Jesus.